Can you hear me now? That entire time I was talking, you didn't hear a word. You didn't hear a word. That's hilarious. Okay. Well, now you can hear me, right? Probably. Hello? You should be able to hear me. Um, I don't know why my audio box even turned off. The computer was on. Like I didn't restart the computer. I don't know, man. I apologize, but now you can hear me. Let me adjust this just to make sure audio levels are the way they should be. Anyway, I can now be heard, correct? You can hear me now. Great. Repeat everything I said. Okay. I will repeat everything I said, but not verbatim because I can't remember that. Hopefully this time will be a little bit better. Yeah. So, one, I want to apologize for just the last few months of not really streaming as consistently. It's just been a lot of flux lately. Like this set's an interim set. It's not a permanent set at all. I'm like in a little box right now. Everything's so stuffy. There's things everywhere. There is come September, I'm gonna be someplace else, which still trying to sort that out actually. But I am trying to figure that out, and then we'll have a more standard set. Some of you might be asking, where's Brandon? Brandon also has a lot of things going on, and to be honest, I might need to start thinking about finding another co-host. I mean, I can have on different people as guests. I like the 1v1s. Attack the Backlog was on last time, and that was good, right? So there's definitely several content creator friends I know I can kind of like cycle through. But if someone out there wants to be like with me on these shows, let me know. Yeah, Paul Gale, I mean, he might be pretty busy, but I'm sure he can visit for sure. Anyway, the podcast is not dead, right? Or whatever you want to call this, right? It's not dead. It's not going away. It's just been going through a rough patch. Let's call it that, a rough patch, right? We know like, and I get it. Like right now we have 35 people watching. Awesome. I'm glad you all are watching. Normally we have like over 100. Why isn't there more? Well, one, I'm starting later than usual, and two, I haven't been streaming as much. Totally get it. I understand. But you liking the stream would be super helpful. I appreciate you. Point is that give me a few weeks, right? In September, things should get back to a little bit more regularity. And then things will pick up for the podcast and the consistency. Maybe more than one stream a week. I know I said I've tried to do more than once a week. I haven't really, but I will. So, I actually had debated this software I use, like getting rid of it. Because it cost me money. I was like, do I really need it? And I decided I needed it. Even though I don't even use it because I'm barely streaming. But I do need it. Because I will be streaming more consistently. Anyways, yes, Ruby's right there. Let me see if I can show her for you. No, well, she's there. She's just sleeping. Anyway, I don't like how low I am on the camera thing. There. That's better. Rule of thirds or something like that. Anyway, although now I feel like because there's more black on screen, the camera's starting to flicker more. That's a whole other thing. Like this whole black setup, not my setup, by the way. I know it looks like a whole black, like Mario background thing. That's just coincidence, not by design. Anyway, so the plan tonight, right, outside of all the podcast drama nonsense, yeah, I'm gonna switch back to this field of view. Makes me feel better. All right, we're gonna be talking about Dragon Drive. My thoughts on it. We're going to be talking about a secret Nintendo game. My thoughts on it. We're going to be talking about my thoughts on Donkey Kong Bonanza. No spoilers, right? But I am now in the post game, so I'll be talking a little bit about that stuff. There is a video I want to make about specifically Donkey Kong Bonanza. I mean, potentially multiple, but because of how long it's taken me to make or finish Donkey Kong, I don't even know if the videos I want to make will still be relevant. I'm thinking about it. There's going to be at least one more Donkey Kong video about the game itself. I'm sure I have at least one like DLC idea that I think makes sense that I'll talk about too. So there's probably gonna be at least 2 more Donkey Kong Bonanza videos, potentially more. But I just know some people have already gone to all the timeline stuff. But I haven't finished the game yet. I'm in the post game net right now. I'm going for 100%, clearing out each layer little by little. But anyways, we'll get to that stuff. What I know, that's all going to be kind of like the primer stuff, right? The big stuff I know what you guys want to talk about is everything happening in September, right? We're going to talk about the September Nintendo Direct, supposedly that will be there. That will be in September. The Mario 40th Anniversary Direct that will supposedly be in there, and Metroid Prime 4 being the star. Apparently being like a big holiday game. That's because that's what it's shaping up to be. It looks like. So yeah, that's kind of like my general outline of what I plan on discussing tonight. Of course, this is just me and you guys in the chat, so it's gonna be more of a back and forth. I'll be going through the chat, reading what you have to say, your questions and thoughts, and I'll be sharing it back. So that's the general plan for the evening. So yeah, hopefully now you can hear me. I won't have to repeat myself for a third time, or I say it all for a third time, repeat myself for a second time. But yeah. Connor, sounds good. Thank you. And I guess I'm just going to the comments in reverse because here I am. True Dash fan 253. What's your thought about Zelda's anniversary? I truly think we're getting Ocarina of Time remake. Yes, I do think that. Well, all right. So I do think we're getting an Ocarina of Time remake, right? I do not know that we're getting an Ocarina of Time remake. To be clear, right? I do not know, but it's kind of one of those things where like you look at on my channel for years, I talked about how Nintendo is going to make a new Donkey Kong game, right? Like this, and I think it would be. Well, I never 100% said. I always argued that I think it makes more sense for it to be an ambitious 3D Donkey Kong game, probably made by the Mario Odyssey team. And while I do think in the more recent months, I kind of talked about how I think it's not like the standard Odyssey team. It's still an element of the Odyssey team. And what has happened? Literally that. For years, right? I'm not saying I'm always right, but the things that I kind of... as evidence presents itself, I continue to talk about it, is my point, right? And so with the Ocarina of Time situation, more evidence has continually presented itself. And so I do think this is in the works, right? I've been talking about this for a while, and now there are people who are providing rumors that I've heard this is in the works, right? So, you know, that's cool, but the theory was always before the rumors. Anyway, in regards to it happening for the 40th anniversary, I've been arguing that for a long time, that it would make sense for it to happen for the 40th anniversary. However, I can see a scenario where we have to wait a little bit longer, where we have to wait until 2027. Like, I can see it being a thing where we have the Zelda movie that comes out early 2027, and after the Zelda movie, for that holiday 2027, they drop this new Zelda release that will capitalize off the success of the movie. It also could work both ways, right? Like, the Zelda game could come out before, and then that game will be available while they're marketing for the movie. And people are like, "Oh man, there's this new Zelda game. Oh, there's this movie," and so like there'll be a back and forth. I think it could go either way. So basically, I'm kind of thinking sometime between the second half of 2026 and the end of 2027 is when I think we'll see this Zelda game. And I do think it makes sense to at least announce it for the 40th anniversary. But the thing about the 40th anniversary for Zelda, Nintendo's not necessarily going to have as much fanfare and make it as big of a deal as they have been doing for many years, many generations for Mario at this point. So I think while it's possible they may level up the amount of kind of attention they provide for Zelda's anniversary, it's not guaranteed. I mean, none of it's guaranteed, right? But at least for Mario, there's a long history of Nintendo doing it. For Zelda, while they do celebrate it, it's far more minimalist. Like, for Zelda's 35th anniversary, they released a Game & Watch. Big difference, right? So, while I think it's happening, I don't necessarily want to put all my eggs in the basket of it coming out for Zelda's 40th anniversary. But that's definitely an option. Let's see here. First super chat of the evening from Ultimate Despair Bear. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate the content. Let's hope Prime 4 Mario Galaxy 2 are shown in September. Also, if they remake Ocarina of Time, I hope they remake Majora's Mask too. So, my thought process on this is that they remake Ocarina of Time in a big way. Game successful, that opens the door for Majora's Mask remake as well. Like, for sure. Like, if let's say if the Ocarina of Time remake sells 10 plus million copies, it probably doesn't even have to sell that much, but let's just say it does, and I think that's not even that much of a stretch for Zelda. If it sells 10 million copies, then honestly, I feel like it'll sell. If it's in the form I think it's going to be, I think this thing's going to sell 20 million copies. But I think, yes, it will pave the way for Majora's Mask eventually. Not immediately, eventually. Like, I think we get whatever this is, then they work on the next brand new Zelda, which will come out like in the middle of the Switch 2's life cycle, right? And then towards the waning years of Switch 2's life cycle, then we can start talking about a Majora's Mask remake. Perhaps not too different from how it worked for the 3DS's life cycle, where we got Ocarina of Time 3D early on, then A Link Between Worlds, a straight-up new top-down Zelda game, in the middle of 3DS's life cycle, and then Majora's Mask 3D came a little bit afterwards. I think it worked somewhat similarly. Not entirely the same, but somewhat similarly. And after that, I think we talked about them remaking Twilight Princess. So that would be cool. By the way, just want to point out, because I was lamenting it earlier, I know I have not been streaming a lot, so I'm not complaining. I'm simply observing and appreciating. We started off around 30, 40 people watching. Now we're at 50, which is half as good as like the norm for when I'm on live streaming nowadays. But given that I haven't been live streaming lately, I'm happy we've gotten to this number. So glad you guys are here. Glad you guys are watching. Liking the stream would be super helpful. And yeah, we'll like I said, the podcast will make more of a proper return with more guests and better setup and all that stuff, and a better background without a flickering camera. Anyway, yeah, I do believe that Majora's Mask will happen after Ocarina of Time remake, but years later. Still in this era, though, I would say. All right. Connor asks me, okay, so here's what I'm hoping from Nintendo, which is a Sakurai Presents Kirby Air Riders Direct and the reveal of a double pack of Triple Deluxe and Robot for Switch and Switch 2. Well, keep willing it into existence. We'll see what happens. I do like the idea, though, of a Sakurai Presents for Kirby Air Riders. You know, we've been talking about how long ago was it? I know I made a video at least 3 months ago. About 3-ish months ago. I mean, this was shortly after. It was once I already knew about the Mario Kart World Direct, which was announced in the Switch 2 Direct, right? But I made a video talking about how there would be a Donkey Kong Bonanza Direct. This is before we knew about the Bonanza Direct, right? This is like, if not April, in May is when I talked about it. But in that video, I also talked about how it made sense for them to eventually do a Metroid Prime 4 Direct, and maybe others, because we look at 2017, the launch year of Switch 1, right? And there were 3 game-specific directs for Switch 1 titles. There is Splatoon 2, ARMS, and Xenoblade Chronicles 2. But there also was an Animal Crossing Mobile Direct, and there was a Fire Emblem Direct. There were 5 directs that were about specific game series, not general presentations, not partners, not minis, not whatever indie showcases, not the big live conference in January, not the big E3 showcase in June. They had all that stuff, or most of that stuff, but they also had several series-specific Nintendo Directs. And I think we should look at this year as a similar kind of setting, right? Because it's the launch year of the Switch 2. And sure enough, after the Mario Kart World Direct, what did we get? A Donkey Kong Bonanza Direct. So now we have 2 series-specific directs or game-specific directs, and I don't think we're done. right? We now have a rumor for a Mario Anniversary Direct, right? You want to call it a series related direct? It's not a normal general, like that kind of fits in there, right? And Metroid Prime 4, there's a rumor for that. It's all part of the same rumor from Nash Weedle that we're going to be getting a Mario 40th Anniversary Direct that will talk about the Mario movie, the park, and a game. And then there's going to be a big general where third parties will be in full force, including a release date for Metroid Prime 4. But then also they will be announcing a Metroid Prime 4 Direct, very similar to how they announced the Mario Kart Direct and the Switch 2 Direct this April. And so 3 directs are rumored. I presume the Metroid Direct would be like in October. These other 2 directs would be in September, right? And so it's a rumor. However, it's corroborated by someone else, friend of the channel, Attack the Backlog, who's gotten some things right in regards to Partner Showcase, the Adventures of Elliot. He's heard that there would be 2 directs in September as well. And the way he said it, they're basically it's exactly as what Nash Weedle's heard. So it kind of leads me to believe that there's definitely a little bit of smoke here. Assuming it's true, right? We would then have a Mario Kart World Direct, a Donkey Kong Bonanza Direct, a Mario 40th Anniversary Direct, and a Metroid Prime 4 Direct. Could there be more? And I'm going to say yes, there could be more. Maybe it's not called a Nintendo Direct, though. Maybe it's just called Sakurai Presents Kirby Air Riders, because he does like to do that. He did that with Smash Brothers. I could see that. I don't know if they'll call it a direct. It's actually interesting because there were Smash Directs, but then there were the Sakurai Presents. They were separate things. They're not deemed directs. The like all the different like presentations of Sakurai, where he was talking about different characters from the Fighters Pass, those were not Nintendo Directs. There were 2 Smash Directs, or maybe 3 even. Maybe there was 2, but the E3 showcase was like half about Smash, so there's like 2.5 Smash Directs or something like that. There was a lot of Smash stuff before and afterwards. We also saw though back in 2023, they didn't do a Tears of the Kingdom Direct, but they basically did. It was an Eiji Aonuma Presents. They showed a gameplay demonstration for Tears of the Kingdom, our first proper gameplay demonstration of the game. And so that was effectively kind of like a direct for Zelda, right? So I could see something like that for Kirby Air Riders. Whatever you want to call it, it would be a game-specific presentation. Maybe it is just called the Direct. I don't know. Either way, I could see it. Sakurai's done them for Smash. I could see him doing it for Kirby Air Riders. We do need to get like some lengthy demonstration of that game. We've seen 0 gameplay of that game yet. I imagine in a September Direct we'll get a trailer for it. But when does it come out? That's a whole other thing to consider here, because at this point, I'm assuming we're not getting a Direct in August. We're going to get the Mario 40th Anniversary Direct at the beginning of September. They'll announce something to come out later into September, and then there'll be a bigger Direct in September for everything else coming out in October, November, December, and beyond. So then what's left? Kirby Air Riders and Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment after Prime 4, I guess, right? And maybe not even all those come out this year. But reminder, we've seen in several years during the Switch era that Nintendo put out multiple published titles in both October and November, and still have something in December as well. So all these games could still come out this year. But yeah, it is kind of interesting thinking about the situation for Kirby Air Riders, because we haven't even seen any gameplay yet, and obviously not even a release date. So I kind of see it as like maybe like a December game if it's still coming out this year. So that's where I'm at with that. J.R. Toki asked me, so seriously, what the heck is with Nintendo this year? Every step along the way has been so freaking weird. I know, right? I think a lot of it does have to do with the switch over to the next generation, right? I also think Nintendo recognizes their ability to do things is different than it was once upon a time. They are capable of having faster turnarounds. They are aware that their Nintendo Direct branding is stronger than ever before. So they don't need to handle things the same way they handled things back in 2017. And that's frustrating for us. I agree. Like there once upon it, like even though 2017 was a new generation, when you look at everything that happened, I don't think I just don't think that the way they didn't give us much room to be concerned, right? This year, however, they are. I don't think... I think it's going to be fine, so, to be clear. But waiting this long to give us release dates for Prime 4, Hyrule Warriors, Kirby Air Riders is definitely strange. These are games that are supposed to come out this year. And I think it's going to be totally fine because I think Nintendo can get away with it. But it's not something they would have done in the past. They would have announced these release dates a few months ago already. We would have had gameplay for Kirby Air Riders already. But Nintendo just... I mean, Nintendo branding is just so much stronger now. You know, they can... I mean, we look back at 2020. They announced Super Mario 3D All-Stars like September 3rd. It came out like September 18th or something like that. Super fast turnaround. And it sold like 8 million copies. It was a limited release. You know, like, it was crazy what they did. And they're going to do it again this September, it looks like, for some other Mario kind of game. Maybe a Galaxy 2 remaster, right? Like, they can just do this kind of stuff now. So because they can get away with it, they can. It kind of goes... It's similar to... Well, let me rephrase. I look at the fact that E3 is no longer a thing, right? And so because there's no longer an E3, Nintendo's no longer beholden to that time period to put together a big presentation. And so what have we seen since the end of E3? There was a last June, where there was a big direct at the end of June. But then in the other 2 years, this year and the year prior, 2023, there was no big direct, right? I don't think so. No, there wasn't. Like, there was a partner showcase, or let me go to the direct archive and show you. It's easier to have the visual. So, share screen, direct archive. All right. So we go back to June. There's nothing. We had a Bonanza direct, right? Which is cool, but that was it. One game versus like 40 games. Big difference. 2024, we had a June direct. 2023, no, you know what? I'm just crazy. Maybe I'm crazy. So we had a June direct in 2023 and 2024. They skipped this year because of Switch 2. Okay. I guess, right? And then in 2022, they didn't have a normal June direct. They had a Xenoblade Chronicles direct and a partner showcase. This is when E3 died. And yet they still have had June directs, actually. So yeah, my brain was off there. I'm glad I checked. I fact checked myself. So back-to-back years we had a June direct. This year they decided not to, but I mean we had the Switch 2 direct in April. But here's the thing, right? Like, we look at 2017. Let me just highlight this for a moment. All right, so here's 2017, right? Not everything's here because not everything is actually technically branded as a direct. Like, there was a huge 1 hour plus long live conference revealing everything about Switch 1 that's not on this page, right? Because it wasn't a direct, it was a live conference. That was in January. This Fire Emblem direct was in January. Switch comes out March 3rd alongside Breath of the Wild. A month later, they have a direct. 1 month after the console comes out. Then an ARMS direct. And in June, you don't see it here, they had a summer showcase. It was a June direct. They just didn't call it a June direct. It was an E3 spotlight. They had a big presentation. And then they had a Splatoon direct in July. Then they had your typical September direct. Then an Animal Crossing mobile direct. Then a Xenoblade direct in November. So, like, you look at this, like, they had something pretty much every month that was major. Like, we had one, there was the January live conference, we had an April direct, we had a June presentation, and a September direct. We basically had 4 general directs instead of what it looks like Intel's going to be doing this year, 2. Although we did have the March direct this year, right? So that's not entirely fair. It's just the timing of it is odd, right? Nintendo isn't handling things the way they worked in 2017. I guess I should also point it out that Switch 2 came out in June. So they might be looking almost like at things a little bit differently because Switch 1 came out in March. So that's more time in the year, right? And I think that's something else we should take into consideration here. We can't look at this like Switch 1. We've got it's Switch 2 has come out even later into the year, June versus March. So that is something to keep in mind. Anyway, yes, it's been weird. I agree. That is, well, that's not how I wanted it to. Why does it look like this? I didn't like it like this. Why is it doing this? I don't like it this big. I don't know why it's doing that. Honestly, don't. I don't know. I don't know why the setup just changed randomly like that. How do I fix it? No idea. Like, I set it up like this because I wanted to have like things that I would show in the bottom. And now it's not letting me do that. I didn't fix it. I just redid it. That's odd. That might be a little bit of a glitch. But shout out to us now reaching 80 people concurrently. We're almost back to normal. We're at like a 70-ish, capacity. But that's great. Thank you guys for joining. Having hope. You think Ruby should be the new co-host? I'm up for it. I'm up for it. Super Chris, thank you for the compliments on my shirt. Yeah, I think I saw Boomini. I saw your Paul Gale Network comment earlier. I agree. I'd like to have Paul back on. Smoky Ninja, how am I doing? I'm starting to sweat. Honestly, it's hot in here. Yeah, flow of air in here is a little odd. Although, for whatever reason, I think some of that has to do with the lights as well. Tends to get hot whenever I do the podcast. Anyway, now that I've read the chat in reverse, let's come back and read it the other way. The Yeet Crew, what about Metroid Prime 4 Beyond? We're going to talk about that, but I like this comment by Alma. Ocarina of Time will probably do 10 to 15 to 20 million 2BH. To be honest, I assume you mean 15 to 20 million copies sold when it comes out. So let me put up that poll because I want to kind of get a pulse on what you all think of how much an Ocarina of Time remake could sell here. All right, so Ocarina of Time remake. An ambitious one. An ambitious Ocarina of Time remake, right? Right? How much does it sell? An ambitious Ocarina of Time remake, how much does it sell? Okay. Yes and no. Yes, it sells a lot. All right, so yeah, I think 20 plus million is a good option. Yeah, okay. I think we got our options here. I am gonna be so bold and assume that this game is for sure hitting at least 5+ million. We've seen like Link's Awakening remake eclipse 5+ million, right? So I don't think it's crazy to say that an Ocarina of Time remake can't also eclipse that number. So, or maybe it's better to do ranges. Yeah, okay, so that's what I'm gonna do. 3 to 5 million. Then 6 to 10. 11 to 19, and then 20 plus. There we go. All right. That way, I feel like I've covered all my bases, because there are some Zelda games that only sell 3 to 4 million when they don't get pushed in the right way at the right times, and are not so widely celebrated. Not that I think that's likely for Ocarina of Time remake, but to cover my bases, and maybe some of you think it's not going to do well for whatever reason. So in a Bitches Ocarina of Time remake, how much does it sell? Here we go. Y'all gonna start typing in infinity. Anyway, so while at that poll run, let me tell you a little bit about how I'm feeling in regards to Metroid. Big Direct with Prime 4 as our true star. I guess this takes us to like the big topic too, right? So when's the next Big Direct? I know it's kind of like one of those things where some people are just tired of like direct speculation, but what I always find kind of like funny about those comments is like, if you're tired of the town direct speculation, then why are you clicking on those videos? And by the way, these people will not click on the other videos, by the way, right? They won't click on the Metroid Prime 4 graphics comparison. They won't click on the Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment trailer analysis. They won't click on the Donkey Kong Bonanza Mario Odyssey graphics comparison. They're not going to click on these other things, right? They're not going to click on my Mario Kart like retrospective or whatever. I'm doing something Mario Kart related for later this week, I think. But these things they don't click on, right? They only click on the direct videos and they complain about direct videos. It's just weird to me. But either way, Nintendo has to make announcements, right? So we need to get these announcements. And just assuming the rumor is true that we're getting a September Direct, where finally we get a release date for Elden Ring Tarnished Edition, Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, a whole bunch of other third-party games that have been supposedly leaked, and things that hopefully are surprises. And then we get release dates for Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. We get release dates for Kirby Air Riders, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, maybe some updates for next year as well. I think this Direct is, I mean, I feel like it's not even like a think at this point. It's like it's kind of like a gotta be, right? Metroid Prime 4 is going to get a big trailer here. But the way things are starting to look, it's starting to look like Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, outside of Pokemon, could just be the biggest release of Nintendo's holiday. So whatever's coming out in September for Mario's 40th anniversary, probably going to sell incredibly well. I could see that if it's not a limited release, I could see it eclipsing 10 million, right? Someday, not immediately because it's a smaller install base to switch to because it's the first year of the console. But September, we don't really consider it part of holidays. Some people get mad when we talk about October as part of the holidays, right? But not counting Pokemon, Metroid Prime 4 might have the most sales potential. Like if we assume that the other two games from Nintendo are Kirby Air Riders, Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, maybe they throw in some other sort of like more casual multiplayer centric game, but you know, like a Fitness Boxing 4 or something, you know, nothing too crazy. Like if that's the lineup, I think Prime 4 would probably sell better than both Hyrule Warriors and Kirby Air Riders and whatever Fitness Boxing mashup thing they decide to choose as well. Now, if it's a Switch Sports Resort, that's different. Then I don't know. Then I think Switch Sports Resort would probably win out eventually, although if Prime 4 reaches a new audience, you never know. Either way, though, it's kind of like it looks like things are kind of primed for Metroid Prime 4 to kind of be the star, right? Like if Metroid Prime 4 is going to be a big successful thing, this is it. Like it looks like Nintendo is setting things up so Metroid Prime 4 is like the big, exciting, ambitious game from Nintendo, right? Like, yeah, Pokemon's a thing, and yeah, Pokemon's gonna sell more than everything else, right? But that's Pokemon always does that, right? Metroid Prime 4 is kind of going to be like that core-centric game that's made by Nintendo, right? Retro Studios is owned by Nintendo. In other words, it's made by Nintendo. It's going to be showed off in this September Direct. We're going to get a trailer and release date, and hopefully it's a pretty big deal trailer. But supposedly we're going to get an announcement for Metroid Prime 4 Direct, which I assume will happen in October. And so when does the game come out? November? Hopefully right before the cutoff for the Game Awards. Hopefully, right? They're positioning it as a big holiday release, it looks like. Nintendo has reiterated multiple times that this game is still coming out this year, right? So timing-wise, it just kind of looks like this is what's about to happen. And so that's exciting. And I think a lot of people probably still are sleeping on Metroid Prime 4 because Nintendo hasn't shown that much of it. But what I want to say is that I don't think we should look at Metroid Prime 4 as like the Mario Kart world, right? But more of a Donkey Kong Bonanza situation. We've barely seen that much of the game. Not a lot of people probably like we've been anticipating this game for many years, but a lot of people are still sleeping on this game. A lot of people were sleeping on Donkey Kong Bonanza until that Donkey Kong Bonanza Direct. And so I kind of have the sense that that's about literally it's going to be the same thing. We're going to get the Metroid Prime 4 Direct. They're going to finally tell us about more than the first like 25 minutes of the game, and we're gonna learn some stuff about this game, and people are going to be excited about it, and it's going to be a big deal. And going by the history of just critical acclaim of Metroid Prime games, it's probably going to be Nintendo's highest rated game of the year, even more highly rated than Donkey Kong Bonanza. Like if Metroid Prime 4 is the lowest rated of the main Metroid Prime games, it probably would still be. I mean, so looking at Metacritic, I think Metroid Prime 3 was like a 90, 91 on Metacritic, right? Let me double check that. Metroid Prime 3 on Metacritic is reviewed at a 90. Okay. Donkey Kong Bonanza, I think that's a 91 on Metacritic. I think it was bouncing between 90 and 91, if I'm not mistaken. 91. Okay. So Metroid Prime 3 at 90 on Metacritic, came out in 2007. Donkey Kong Bonanza is a 91. However, Metroid Prime 2 Metacritic, what do you guys think it is? It's a 92 on Metacritic. And then Metroid Prime 1 Metacritic, I think it's a 98, 97. So 97 on Metacritic. And then Metroid Prime Remastered Metacritic is a 94. Yep, a 94, right? That's the most recent Metroid Prime. It's a remaster of Metroid Prime 1, but, that was made by Retro Studios. It still shows they can do quality. And the Metroid Prime Trilogy, I think that was right. I don't know. I'm not certain. 91 on Metacritic. So, just saying, Metroid Prime 2 rated higher than Bonanza. Metroid Prime Original higher than Bonanza. Metroid Prime Remastered higher than Bonanza. Metroid Prime 1 Trilogy tied with Bonanza. It's only Metroid Prime 3 that is a point lower. Now, reviews don't mean that much at the end of the day, right? I'm simply speaking from a perspective of the Metroid series consistently has reviewed highly. It's been many years since they've made a new game, right? But Prime Remastered is still reviewed extremely well in 2023 at a 94. And so if people are still going to rate Metroid Prime Remastered at a 94, how is Metroid Prime 4 going to do? I don't think Metroid Prime 4 has been in development hell. I mean, well, at some point it need to have been, right? That's why they restarted development. But I think they've been just working on this for a long time, and they've been making sure it's a good game. The same way they were working on Donkey Kong Bonanza throughout the entire Switch era, the same way they're working on Mario Kart World throughout the entire Switch era, they've been working on Metroid Prime 4 throughout the entire Switch era. Both those games are high quality. Metroid Prime 4 is also going to be high quality. And all I'm saying is it's going to be between Donkey Kong and Metroid for best Nintendo game of the year. And based off the history of Metroid, odds are Metroid Prime 4 is going to be rated higher. Will you consider it to be a better game? That's going to come down to personal taste. A lot of people think Donkey Kong Bonanza is a better game than Super Mario Odyssey, and Super Mario Odyssey is a 96 on Metacritic, right? It's rated much more highly than Donkey Kong, even though 91 on Metacritic is still really good. So point is though, Metroid, this is its time. Like it's going to be a big deal. So I'm ready for it to take its moment, and it's going to be such a good time. Like, I hope I can just go to town on Metroid Prime 4 theory discussion videos, because those would be so fun. See here, I have a couple super chats. Having Hope, been a member for 30 straight months. Glad to have you all this time. Having Hope. Having Hope here asks, what do you think Nintendo will announce for Mario's 40th anniversary? I'm hoping Luigi's Mansion 4, Super Mario Galaxy 2, and maybe new 3D Mario. So both Nash Weedle and Attack the Backlog, who I see is in the chat, have both talked about publicly that they've heard there's going to be a game, right? A game isn't 3 games, right? But just because they've heard about a game doesn't mean there won't be any other games. And I stand by my speculation with Luigi's Mansion 4. Maybe it doesn't come out this year, right? And I would say at this point, it doesn't seem like it's coming out this year. But I do think Next Level Games obviously has been working on something the last few years. I think the clear, most likely game that they should be working on is Luigi's Mansion 4. And we know they started hiring for another project already. If we go by release pattern, they should have a game ready for this year, but maybe they wait a little bit longer to next year. That's fine. And so maybe Luigi's Mansion 4 is teased this year, right? Either in the Mario Anniversary Direct or in a September Direct. Like, I think there's a solid chance in either. So that could maybe happen. Mario Galaxy 2 Remastered, I'm really pulling for that. That was rumored by Special Nick. I think that would be a very exciting, really quick turnaround kind of game to come out this September. 3D Mario is an interesting one. I don't think they need to talk about it in this Direct. However, I will say this. If they have a Mario Anniversary Direct and they don't say anything about 3D Mario, it's going to have everyone thinking 3D Mario is far off. So, and I don't know what Nintendo's actually going to do, right? But maybe it would make sense for Nintendo to have Koizumi, or whoever is, at the head of this project, 3D Mario, the new one, for them to come out on stage or during the Direct and say, hey, we know you're excited for the future of the Super Mario series. Rest assured, the next 3D Super Mario game is in development for Nintendo Switch 2. That's all they got to say, just to let people know we're working on it. But in the meanwhile, we have something else to tide you over that we want to show you. Please take a look. And it's a trailer for Super Mario Galaxy 2, remastered beautifully with new Yoshi levels or whatever. And it says out later this September, and the Direct ends. Like, I think that would probably be the best way to go about it, just so people can relax, right? People don't have to be like, oh my god, they're not making a Mario game, we're screwed. Like, I do kind of think that if Nintendo doesn't say something during a Mario Anniversary Direct, that's going to be the conversation. So I hope that they alleviate those concerns. Now, if they say along the lines of what I said, without giving us a release year, some people might still think it could be years away. I'd like to think that there's no way that's going to happen. I would like to think that the next Mario game will be out by next holiday. However, I don't know. Like, depending on what to show off for the anniversary, like, maybe that has us waiting a little bit longer, right? Because we look at the history of mainline Mario launch releases, they're always out by that second holiday for every particular system. But in this new era, where we can have ambitious remakes and quality remasters with new content thrown in there, that can maybe throw off the pattern a little bit. Maybe Nintendo feels they can get away with Mario Galaxy 2 with some new content, and also having something like Donkey Kong Bonanza and Mario Kart World, and so they can wait a few more years before they give us that proper new 3D Mario experience. I don't want to think that, but I'm throwing it out there. So we'll see. I think this anniversary presentation will be very telling for what's next. Like, here's something else to consider. Like, what if we get Mario Galaxy 2, but it's just like included in 3D All-Stars? Like, there's no new content or anything like that. It's just, hey, here's Galaxy 2. You can play it now, which I'll be happy with. Maybe they give it mouse controls or something, right? And that'd be fine. It'll be fine. And maybe some people will be like, oh man, I wish they added new content to it. Sure, but maybe it also means, okay, well, if they don't give us any like brand new Mario campaigns in this soon, that kind of tells us that they probably have like a new 3D Mario not that far off, right? Like if they give us like a Bowser's Fury, if they announce that during the direct, what does that suggest about an actual full-on new 3D Mario, right? Because Bowser's Fury is almost kind of like a half game, you know? So in a way, I'm almost pulling for there to not be any kind of like new content announced for Mario Galaxy 2 or whatever it is they decide to show off in this presentation, just because it would give me more hope that 3D Mario is the main focus, right? But I also kind of think that something like a Galaxy 2 is so different from what this next Mario game would be that still both could function and come out within about a year of each other. Reminder, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe came out January 2019. Mario Maker 2 came out, I want to say, May or June of 2019, like 5 months later. So Mario Maker 2 release date June. So it was 5 months afterwards, right? So that's two different like 2D Mario experiences that came out within 6 months of each other for the same platform. We've seen stranger things happen. Attack the backlog with a super chat. Glad to have you here, my friend. Thank you for the super chat. Hit that like, friends. It's free. It's true. Liking the stream is free. I would appreciate it. Thank you very much. Yeah. Continuing. I'm looking at the poll right now, right? And so for those who don't know, I had asked an ambitious Ocarina of Time remake. How much does it sell? Currently, 3 to 5 million is at in the last place at 13% or 12%. It's bouncing back and forth. 6 to 10 million is tied with it at 12, 13%. 11 to 19 is at 33%, and 20 plus million at 42%. So most of you think it's selling over 10 million. Which is that's what I think. I think it would sell over 10 million. If it's an ambitious Ocarina of Time remake. Maybe it won't be an ambitious Ocarina of Time remake. What if it's an Ocarina of Time 3D upscaled? Then maybe it doesn't sell 10 million. Although I still think it probably would sell several million. Yeah. But I think it's going to be ambitious. It's going to be like, at least from a visual perspective, impressive. Nonchalant Pianta. Splatoon Raiders could be the holiday title. Yeah. Splatoon Raiders could come in by surprise there. Something that I think some people have kind of gotten confused with. When Splatoon Raiders was announced, there was like, a whole website update, and they also talked about the Splatoon 3 update, and there was a rating for Splatoon 3, but people assumed that rating was for Splatoon Raiders, which led people to believe that Splatoon Raiders has been rated, which then have people think it's coming out like really soon. But the rating was for Splatoon 3 and not for Splatoon Raiders. So all we know is that it's a game that exists, and its release timing is to be determined officially. That's what they say on Nintendo's financial reports, TBD, to be determined. But that could be determined to be this year. It's not totally out of the question, but me being frank, or just Andres, I think it's not coming out this year, but maybe it's like a spring release, early next year. We'll see though. Wilberforce Booster, given how much Nintendo has spent on Metroid Prime 4, they will make it a big holiday game. Yes. They gotta make it a big holiday game. Having hope. I think both Prime 4 and Hyrule Warriors are holiday titles that they both come out in November or December. I could see Prime 4 and Hyrule Warriors coming out in November. 1-2 punch. Kirby Air Riders December. I could see it. Or even Prime 4 Halloween. Maybe. Something else that I think should be noted, Nintendo's not publishing Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. Well, they might be publishing it in some regions. Let me double check that. It's one of those weird situations. What does Nintendo's website say? Well, they don't say anything yet. Wait, hold on. They don't. It's so funny. So I'm gonna screen share again. It's gonna ruin my setup. I know it, because that's what happened last time. But let's see what happens when That's fine. I figured out how to fix it, even though it's unintended. On Nintendo's website here, right? They say the description was provided by the publisher. So who's the publisher? I mean, obviously Nintendo has something to do with Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. But so does Koei Tecmo Games. Anyway, I don't think that impacts where they slotted in too much. But I think it's something to consider. Yeah. All right, where was I? Eric, I don't think they're bringing back 3D All-Stars. I think they're just going to remaster Galaxy 2. That was my first thought. And so the thing is, like, if they only... Hold on, how's the setup? Yep, they did it again. I knew it. Yeah, it's a weird glitch. It's a weird glitch. Anyway, as I was saying, if it comes out on its own, Eric, then that has me thinking that they have to do more than just, hey, here's Mario Galaxy 2. It's upscaled, right? Like, I think they would have to, like, enhance it visually, at least. Mouse controls would also help. I would be inclined to think they would add new content as well, but they don't have to, depending on how it's priced and what else they do. Like, if they're adding mouse controls, I guess that's a new feature. Yeah, what would they call it? Mario Galaxy 2 4K? Or just Mario Galaxy HD with the switch to upscale version? What's funny is that Alma immediately after says, given how lackluster 3D All-Stars was, I doubt Galaxy 2 will get an overhaul. The thing is, though, 3D All-Stars, well, yes, each game was, like, remastered minimally, like, just upscaled and given, basically adapted controls for the Switch. There was 3 of them, right? And they had the whole sound, the whole music collection, right? Like, that, there was some fanfare there. It was minimal, but it was 3 different things. It was a collection. If you're just doing one, you gotta do more than what you did for each of those games, right? Because I think it has to amount to something. Like, even though there were 3 games barely remastered, together, it was a more meaningful package. I don't think you could release Mario Galaxy 2 for $60, $70, and they've done basically no work to it. That said, that's kind of what they did with Skyward Sword HD. So, although Skyward Sword HD didn't sell very well for Zelda standards, so I think that should also be considered. Like, imagine if Skyward Sword HD had new content alongside what they did for it. Then more people would be like, oh, okay, right, we'll pick this up. But it only sold like 3.5 million or something. Let me double check that. I feel like my memory is slightly off today. Skyward Sword HD sales. 4.15 million. Once upon a time it was 3.5. It improved to 4.15 million, which is still pretty bad for Zelda standards. Yeah, so I've seen a post here 3.5 years ago. It was at 3.6. So they've updated the numbers over the years. Top selling Switch games. Yeah, let me show you this list. And then lose my setup again. But whatever. Share screen. No, wrong screen. Good screen. Okay. So, all right. Breath of the Wild, 33 million. Tears of the Kingdom, almost 22 million. And I assume with the Switch 2 editions, it will get there. Next Zelda game. Pokemon Legends Arceus is a Zelda game. Kind of, but not actually. The next Zelda game, Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening Remake, 6.46 million. So a 2D Zelda remake sold 6.5 million, right? Came out in the thick of the Switch generation. Skyward Sword HD has gone over 4 million, but it's barely over 4 million. Echoes of Wisdom's at 4. This is interesting. I feel like the Echoes of Wisdom should also pass Skyward Sword HD. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity sold 4 million. I do not think Age of Imprisoment's going to sell that much. Anyway, I think that's pretty much the Zeldas. There might be like Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition. I would assume that hit 1 million. Did it even? I'm like looking through the list. Maybe I even skipped it without even noticing. I'm looking through. Maybe I missed it. I might have. Control F is my friend. Hyrule Warriors. There's only one Hyrule Warriors. Actually, maybe it didn't even hit. It's not even on this list. Okay. That's interesting. Anyway. Here we are again. Yeah. Where was I? What was I even talking about? I think I was just talking about right. So Galaxy 2. All right. So I'm remembering my train of thought. All right. So Skyward Sword, right? They didn't do that much work to it, and 4 million is not bad, right? Let's be real here. 4 million is good, but you think they could have gone away with more. I don't know. I feel like they could have gone away with more if they'd done more work to it. They didn't. So you look at Mario Galaxy 2 Remastered. If they just do like what they did for Skyward Sword HD for that, I think they'll be shooting themselves in the foot a little bit. Unless it's priced appropriately. Like if it's only like a $20, $30 thing, that's different. So that's something else I would consider. Like pricing matters. But if they put it out as a $70 release and it's just like an upscale, right, with mouse controls, with no new content, I think it's gonna still sell a few million, but it didn't hit an 8 or anything like 3D All Stars did. So I just think there's got to be a balance, right? Like if it's gonna be its own independent release, then it's got to either be really cheap or they got to add some things to it that make it more meaningful, like new content, greatly enhanced visuals. Like there's got to be something, one or the other. Greatly reduced price or a lot or some new content with enhanced visuals. So we'll see what they do. Rico Lee, I didn't imagine they'll have at least a teaser trailer for it. It's been 7 years, man. Surely it's far enough in development to show something of it this year. They even said stay tuned for 3D Mario before. Yeah. I know people. I at least agree that people will be scratching their heads if Nintendo doesn't. But Nintendo's gotten really good at making us scratch your heads, right? So there's that. RNL Atsy, do you think we'll see the new Tomodachi Life? Would it be in the September Direct? I want to say yes, actually. I think it's about time we get an update on that. So something actually really interesting about the Partner Showcase. That Partner Showcase was a Switch 1 and Switch 2 presentation. They kind of gave us a blueprint for how they'll be handling Switch 1 and Switch 2 announcements for the foreseeable future. And so I believe this upcoming Direct in September, the general one, will include a lot of Switch 1 stuff. And so Tomodachi Life is going to be part of that. So yeah, I definitely think we'll see an update on that game in September. And on that note, also Rhythm Heaven. Although Rhythm Heaven is not as big of a game, maybe they'll be quiet on it and just like say something else right before release or something. But I definitely Tomodachi Life. I think we'll get an update on in September. Shundo Sableye 045. I'm gonna cry if Prime 4 misses a deadline for the Game Awards. It would not be a good day for me. Johnny Hernandez, what's up, bro? Crimson Desert has been delayed to Q1 2026. This does not bother me at all. Yeah, let's see. Crimson Desert. Crimson Desert delayed to Q1 2026. This is due to longer than expected timelines arising from schedule coordination and collaborations with multiple partners for offline distribution, voiceovers, console certification, and other launch preparations. This doesn't bother me. I was excited for the game. I am still excited for the game, but I'm gonna have so much going on with my Switch 2 and Metroid Prime 4 and Hyrule Warriors and Kirby Air Riders. Like, I'm not like, we're already in August, guys. Like, I'm gonna have plenty of Nintendo games to play. I still have to play Xenoblade Chronicles X. There's still also gonna be some third-party games I'm gonna want to play. Like, Crimson Desert coming out in Q1, not a big deal. If anything, that might be give me more reason to play it then, and hopefully they announce a Switch 2 version by that point too, which would be nice. But it's definitely something to consider, worth noting. Thank you for bringing it up. Let's see here. Kick it smooth. I think Metroid Zelda November, Kirby is December, right on the money. Okay, you agree with me. Cool. Thank you for agreeing with me. Yeah, and maybe Metroid Prime 2 and 3 come out late October. The art book comes out October 28th. Metroid Prime 1 through 3 visual retrospective. So I could see it. Prime 2 and 3 come out. Like, maybe they have a Metroid Prime Direct in early October. Metroid Prime 2, or maybe they even shall drop Prime 2 and 3 early October, have a physical release late October, and then Metroid Prime 4 comes out early November. Hyrule Warriors comes out 2 weeks later. And then Kirby Air Riders December. Wilberforce Rooster, yes. Splatoon Raiders is a wild card. I'm just kind of assuming it's a next year thing because, or I don't even know how else everything fits. For those wondering, in case you've missed kind of my thoughts on this, I have since transitioned to thinking that Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment is a this year game because Nintendo of Australia tells us it's a this year game. For those who haven't heard, so if you go to Nintendo of Australia, if you go to their YouTube page and you look at the Hyrule Warriors trailer, trying to find it. If you go to that trailer, it says it's coming out this spring. But keep in mind, this is Nintendo of Australia. Spring in Australia is this year, right? So spring in Australia is between September through November of this year. And Nintendo's saying winter for us here in the West, right? So winter for us is technically December through February. So what gives? That those don't match up, right? The thing is, when a game company, and I assume other game companies, I'm also going to pay attention to Nintendo when it comes to these things, though. When they say a season, don't assume it's going to fall exactly into that season. Give or take a month or so, right? So if they say December, it could be a November game. If they say, like, I don't know, if a spring in Australia, that could be a December game, right? Like, it's close, right? So I guess basically what I'm saying is it's either coming out late spring in Australia, which would be November, or early December, which it is, yeah, early December, right? So early winter would be December. Anyway, that's kind of why I've since transitioned to thinking that Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment is coming out this year. Not to mention, if you guys were following me a few months ago, when I was doing kind of like the consistent general news, something I talked about there is that I had saw immediately after Nintendo put out the explanatory material for one of their quarterly briefings, they had listed Age of Imprisonment as a this year release. A couple hours later, they took it down. They changed it to just, winter. So Nintendo had at one point listed it as a this year game, very briefly. So might have been a leak, might have just been an error, but now that we see that, according to Nintendo of Australia, it's supposed to come out this year, that has me thinking it's a late November, early December release. Yeah. Alma adds me. From what I understand, Prime 1 Remastered was a headache because they had to redo the entire game. Oh, the chat jumped. Prime 2 and 3 might just be simple ports. I expect Prime 2 and 3 to be just simple ports. Expect a 3D All-Stars Pikmin 1 and 2 like treatment where they'll look better. Like, they'll be upscaled. Maybe the resolution is cleaned up a little bit. They'll have mouse controls and motion controls. There might be a few, some accessibility changes. Maybe some, some collectors, fanfare stuff in the options. But that's what it's going to be. It's not going to be looking nearly as good as Prime 4. Or Prime 1 Remastered, for that matter. So, yeah. I wouldn't raise our hopes too much on that. Especially, the other thing is, why would they put out such an ambitious work right before Prime 4? They're not gonna. So either A, we get Prime 2 and 3 in a simple fashion, like Pikmin 1 and 2 were 3D All-Stars, or we just don't get it for a long time to come. Maybe Prime 2 comes out for GameCube Classics, but then what about Prime 3? I just think Prime 2 and 3 are going to come out on the eShop as... Just look at Pikmin 1 and 2 on the Switch eShop. Exactly like that. Arnold Atsey. I played Mario Odyssey recently. I really hope that Mario gets something special like a 3D collection, Volume 2, or a first look at the new movie. I definitely think we're getting our first look at the new movie and a Mario Anniversary Direct. A 3D collection, Volume 2 would be cool. Galaxy 2, 3D Land. Yeah, those would be fun. Attack the backlog in the chat. Nash Weedle's talking about Prime 5 being developed alongside Prime 4, which is wild, but also shows a huge investment from Nintendo. And if true, we won't have to wait 8 years for Prime 5. Yeah, if true. I mean, if Prime 4 ends up being a massive success, fingers crossed. If Prime 4 hits it hits the 10 million mark, then Prime 5 comes out and also hits around that number. That would be such a massive, massive success for Nintendo. Will it hit that number? I mean, we'll see. I mean, history suggests otherwise, but we've seen a lot of records break throughout the Switch era. We'll see what happens with Switch 2. But Mario Kart's actually been selling really well. Have super high attach rate. I think it's I don't remember. I gotta just look it up. Mario Kart, or if I look at this, Nintendo IR sales. What does that say? If I go to top selling titles. No, Google's not listing. All right, so Mario Kart World, as of June 30th, has sold 5.63 million copies. How many Switches have been sold? Almost 6 million? They are reporting 5.82 million as of June 30th. So what's really cool about this is that... Let's see here. Calculator. 5.82. Oh, okay. Math. What was it? 5.63? Yeah. I can't type. 96% of Switch 2 owners have Mario Kart World. I get the bundle. Most people would get the bundle. It's just a better deal. But it's still crazy to think about. Expect that ratio to continually drop throughout the era. But still, that's crazy. Alma, Prime 4 selling 4 to 5 million would be pretty good. But it was a very expensive game for Nintendo. So... I kind of feel like it should sell more. But that's one of the reasons why it makes sense to just follow with a Prime 5 to kind of minimize your loss there. Grookey asks, do we know how much DK sold? It's a good question. I don't remember hearing any headlines. It's still very early. Like, I know it sold really well in certain regions, but we don't know, like, global sales. Like, Donkey Kong Bonanza has been the top of the eShop charts, you know? But, yeah, we don't know how well it's selling yet. Well, yeah. When we do know how it's selling globally, I will talk about it. So, few other things I want to kind of touch on before I call it a night. What was I going to talk about? I wrote it down. So, Dragon Drive. Yeah. I actually really liked that. Did you guys... I know now all of you follow me on Twitter, right? But I feel like I got to show you guys this clip. So I shared it on Twitter the other day. And it just kind of blew my mind. Like, I didn't play that much, but this is just crazy. All right, let me lower this here. All right, so this is the end of the game, okay? All right, so I recorded this on my Switch 2, just posted it on Twitter. All right, notice here, there's 13 seconds left on the game clock. The other team has the ball. They are up 2. It's 4-6, right? We're not scoring that much in this game, right? It's a 2-minute long game. We're down proportion, like, you know, ratio-wise, actually a significant amount, right? With only 13 seconds left. They have the ball. Here I am in the middle. Oh, he's going to shoot. 8 seconds left. Oh, I got the ball. 4 seconds left. Oh, I wiggled through them. Oh. 0 seconds. Buzzer shot. That made my night. That was the only game I played, by the way. I played one time, and I was done. I was like, all right, this is it. I'm going out on top. I hurt my neck. So it's been kind of hard to sleep the last 2 days. And so playing Dragon Drive, with my neck, every time I move, like, it's still kind of recovering a little bit. But after one more night of sleep, I should be almost normal. Anyway, that's why I didn't play that long, because it was really hard. But I felt like I should play a little bit to, like, kind of talk about it, be aware of it. Comes out in 2 days. But I just found it thrilling. I just thought it was a good time. So, yeah. Well, that's my camera acting weird now. I don't know. It gave up. It's given up. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, the game was fun. Like, it was just such a good time. I like basketball though, right? So that's the thing for me. Like, basketball is fun for me, right? So for me, like, going in there, like, going the beginning for the buzzer shot, like, I really liked the flow of that. It was a good time. And actually, there's some exercise to be done there. Like, it's actually pretty cool. And it's only $20 on the eShop. So, like, I'm probably gonna pick it up. I did the way I played. I put a pillow on my lap and I kind of played in that way. So, like, finding, like, a good environment to use the Switch 2 Joy-Cons as mice, maybe, you know, it's a little bit of a hurdle, but, you know, you can find a way to do it with your own household items, most likely. Or you lean over on your table, or if you're at your desk playing games, it's probably really easy, actually. If I played it on my desk, actually, probably would have been a lot easier. But I played it. I normally like playing, like, in my living room on a couch with a big TV. That's how I'm most comfortable. I was not comfortable that night, though. Anyway, the game was fun. I liked it. I'm picking it up, but I'm a big basketball fan. I also like sports games in general, or like I really like Switch Sports, for example. I liked Ring Fit Adventure. Those kinds of games are cool to me. I know not everyone's into that, but hey, a lot of people are, right? Like Ring Fit Adventure, Switch Sports, they sell a lot. Will Dragon Drive sell a lot though? I It doesn't feel like it's catering to the same audience, so I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know. Wilberforce Booster, I do not actually own ARMS. I remember playing one of the demos and like it was fun, but it wasn't so fun that I felt like I needed to buy it. I know, I probably should. I should have. I feel like I missed the boat a little bit because they don't have the events anymore. Ring Fit was a good time. And good exercise. Pretty cool. Jedi Master Binks, when did Samus have the third eye in her helmet? Unless I've been blind this whole time. You have not been blind this whole time. They started showing the third eye on Samus after the March Direct this year, where they showed off Samus in the view with the Viros gameplay, where they talk about Samus's psychic abilities. So if you look up Welcome to Viros, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, you'll see that trailer if you haven't seen it. And in there, they talk about Samus obtained psychic abilities early on in Viros, and that's what the third eye has to do with. Yeah. Something else. Okay, what else did I talk about? I guess I briefly mentioned Donkey Kong. It's a really good game. Reviews coming together. Sort of like on my brain, I'm trying to sort out in my mind what I'm gonna say about it, but I'm working through the post game, and it's a really good game. I will say a few weeks ago I was talking about how if I had one criticism about the game is that it didn't feel enough like Donkey Kong and it felt maybe a little bit too much like Mario. The more I've played the game, the more I've kind of changed my mind on that. I do feel like the game has its own identity, right? I think it's its own unique experience, and really the exotic variety to the worlds love it. Like the deeper you go, the crazier things get. The music is infectious, the environments, the characters, it's all a really good time. It doesn't like it reminds me of prior Donkey Kong games. They have different Donkey Kong tunes. They have all these different characters. Like they're clearly paying homage to prior Donkey Kong things. But does the game itself, like the core of it, feel like a Donkey Kong game? And the truth of the matter is, I don't think it feels like any other prior Donkey Kong game. And there's definitely some Mario feeling elements to it, but it's also not quite Mario either. It's a destruction platformer. And I've had a really good time with it. And I do think DK is the ideal character for this kind of gameplay. And DK does still have some really good platforming elements. Something I would like to see in a future installment, though, or even DLC if they want to do it in that, is them to kind of work on giving DK a little bit more like Tarzan-like movement, like swing vine to vine, having that momentum. He does move with speed, and he does crash with strength and weight. So there's definitely some things they've done right. There's a lot of things they did right. I'm just talking about in terms of like that direction. I think there's already a little bit of that, but I feel like there's a little bit more they could do there to kind of make it feel like, like Donkey Kong platforming in a jungle kind of thing, which he doesn't really do. There's not really that kind of environment in Bonanza. But, I mean, it's definitely an amazing game. It's its own thing. It's a unique experience, going to all these unique, crazy worlds. Like, there's some amazing stuff. So I'll definitely be doing a review, and probably how I'll structure it. I'll have the first few minutes and I'll label it as non-spoiler stuff, and then I'll do all the spoiler stuff afterwards. And there's some pretty cool spoiler stuff, but I won't spoil it here. But yeah, definitely I loved Donkey Kong Bonanza. I'm loving Donkey Kong Bonanza. Like, I actually have been playing a little bit of Tears of the Kingdom, and I'm like, hey, this is cool, but I want to play Donkey Kong Bonanza. So, and it's interesting because I was thinking about it. Donkey Kong Bonanza and Tears of the Kingdom they have a similarity in the sense that you have a great level of freedom in terms of how you can go about not only exploring the world but interacting with it. And Donkey Kong Bonanza is kind of like an evolution of Mario Odyssey in that regard, and Tears of the Kingdom is an evolution of Breath of the Wild. And it's just kind of interesting to see, like it's like you look at 2017. 2017 was like, Nintendo going with these ambitious projects. And now we see kind of the next era of it with Tears of the Kingdom and Bonanza. So it's just interesting to consider. And Tears of the Kingdom is kind of like more of a chill, calming experience, slower. Bonanza is like energetic, right? And you can do so much. So it's definitely they're different from each other, right? It's not like Bonanza's just like straight better. There's got different vibes. But yeah, I love Bonanza, and I'll be giving more concrete details and however I decide to handle the review, maybe in a few days. But yeah, it's coming. Now, so I've talked about Donkey Kong, we talked about Dragon Drive. Maybe I shouldn't talk about the secret Nintendo game. I guess I didn't really. I was planning on it, but maybe I should wait till I have someone to talk about it with. I'll say I played it. I didn't play it immediately. I've only played a few hours of it. I found it fun though. I couldn't figure out everything about it. Kind of complicated. I don't know. Maybe I was tired, but I definitely I figured out building and platforming, climbing, and like expanding my range in the game. Being vague because the Nintendo might cancel the entire stream, but playtest game is fun. Yeah. Maybe I'll get Bo on because I know Bo's played it and he played the initial run. I haven't had him on for a while, so it might be good to get him on to kind of talk about this in detail. Bo, if you're watching, we should schedule something instead of me asking you late, like right before the show. Anyways, we got one more thing to talk about. Connor asks me, would you do a predictions video for Starcross World and what lore you want to know about it? I don't think I'm gonna do that. Because I don't. It's Kirby. I guess I'm just not. I don't know. I'm not as invested in the lore for Kirby as I am for Zelda or Metroid or Donkey Kong or Mario. I'm not saying that there isn't some stuff there. I just don't. I don't know. Like what I'm trying to remember. In Forgotten Land, I mean, the thing is, the end of Forgotten, like most Kirby games, there's like a crazy, like universally powered being with magical deity powers, right? What's it is a star-crossed world, right? Like, so like clearly there's some sort of like, what does that mean, star-crossed world? Like why, like there's these stars crashing and there's changing the environment. Is this more interdimensional stuff, which is a lot of in Kirby? So I don't know if I can make that into an entire video, but I'll tell you this: you're at least having me think about it a little bit more. So I don't want to make any promises, but I'll think about it. G Money, what you know about Metroid Prime 4? I'm playing 2 or 3 right now. What do I know about Metroid Prime 4? It's coming out this year, probably, according to Nintendo. I do think it's a lot bigger than we thought. I think you look at that key art with the desert. I think there's gonna be some big open areas, but there's also gonna be a lot of that typical Metroid Prime gameplay, and probably something else is gonna surprise us. So that'd be cool. But to the final thing I'll talk about, it's just me ending the poll that I put up 54 minutes ago. Got 96 votes. The winner of the poll, right? The one that got the most votes is 20 plus million. I had asked an ambitious Ocarina of Time remake, how much does it sell? 41% of you, or let's round it to 42 because I know they always deduct a percentage point, said 20 plus million an ambitious Ocarina of Time remake would sell. 32 said 11 to 19 million. 17% said 6 to 10. 8% said 3 to 5. So 74% of you said that. By the way, I can do math, right? I'm if you add 41, 32, 17, and 8, it's 99%. So, yeah. Is that correct? 32 plus 8, 40. Then 41, that's 81. What? 81. Then 88. 98%. What? That's crazy. Anyway, that's wild. And it's some weirds. They handle those percentage points weird. Point is, over 70% said over at least 11 million, right? And that's where I fall. I think it could get to 10 to 20. You know, it depends on how big they go with it. But if it's at least like a visually impressive with some significant quality of life updates, that alone I think puts it in that conversation of maybe getting to 10 million, at least 8, I would say. And if it comes out early in the generation, more likely to exceed 10. If we're talking about some gameplay additions, then 20 plus definitely starts to become realistic to me. Yeah, that's what I think. Anyways, everyone, thank you all for stopping by. It's been a good time. I appreciate it. And I'll see you soon. Take care.